Welcome back everyone to the Anarchy Analysis Series. We're live with our first round of the Spring Playoffs predictions. Oh boy. We missed week 3 because they started a day early for some goddamn reason that was not really communicated. And I don't even know why. So, we are going to be going into this weekend. We've got, I believe it to be 6 games on the docket, 6 best of 3s yet again. So let's go over a couple of weeks of results and get into predicting these games. So last weekend we only managed to hit 5 out of 16. That's including one tiebreaker. Those games were G2SK, Vitality Common Corp, BDS MDK, Team Heretics vs GX, and KC vs BDS. With them all said and done, that gave us 5 out of 16 as a total. So let's jump into this weekend's games, starting with our matchup of the week. That matchup of the week is the first matchup of this best of 3 playoff weekend as SK take on Vitality. Now these two teams met up in the first round last time in winter, where Vitality came out on top, and let's be honest, it was a bit of a surprise considering the form that SK were in during the winter split. This time, the form is on Vitality's side of things, considering SK barely scraped in on a tiebreaker against Rogue, who they lost to earlier in the day. Whereas Vitality locked in quite early on in this split, having very good performances against the likes of G2 and other teams that were in and around the top of the table last year. Now, as these two face off, I think we'll see a similar sort of result. A 2-1 to Vitality. As realistically speaking, it has kind of been the Kazi and Vito show for Vitality this split, with Photon actually stepping up alongside them. The squads looked very strong, however playoff Vitality tends to be where we start to see some of the falters of that bot lane, the overcommits and the catch-outs that have plagued Hilly and Kazi throughout their career. They've been known as probably the, not the biggest inters per se, but the highest death percentage bot lane in the league. And I think that probably will start to show yet again in playoffs, going up against a SK squad who, as a whole, match up fairly well into this Vitality. Irrelevant Photon, 2 top-level top laners who perform extremely well for their teams. Mid lane's probably quite even Vito Niski. The jungle is where we start to see similar sort of weaknesses, similar sort of strengths. Douglas has been caught out quite a bit in the opening weekend of the splits, but as a whole, he sort of has smoothed out his gameplay and started to find his footing in the league, where he is trying to make impact for that bot lane and just being an out-and-out frontline tank. And that style has sort of worked for Vitality more than the over-aggressive gank for lane champions that Douglas could be playing. But as I've said, this matchup will be analysed. All possible games, all 3 if it goes that far, will be looked at. And I think we'll see all 3. 3-2 is my prediction for Vitality. The second matchup of the opening weekend game is Fnatic versus Giant X. I mean, Fnatic dominant this split. First time in a long time they've finished top of the table. And people, let's be honest, weren't really expecting them to be there. Even if they have been performing well in winter, no one expected them to finish top, considering how well G2 are actually doing. This is probably the first time since Fnatic made their epic run with Caps captaining them they've done this, and this is presumably the split that we may see a new champion in the LEC in a long time. I think that this one against Giant X will be a pretty easy matchup. For them, I think it's a 2-0 Fnatic. I think Giant X, while realistically speaking, have done slightly better this split compared to last, they're still not at peak strength, and teams will punish them. I think that is a huge thing that we've noticed throughout the year. Teams are getting better. Teams are certainly learning how to punish them. And I do think that will be seen here as they face up against the best team in the league right now, in Fnatic. Sunday's action sees Team Heretics taking on BDS, according to my record. I believe this is also a replay, and in fact, I'm going to check my notes from last split. Team Heretics versus BDS. It was a 2-1 to BDS, I believe. I don't know if I put a perfect prediction, but BDS won it. Actually, it was 2-0. BDS dominated Heretics. This split, Heretics made some big roster changes and have actually made it click quite well compared to what we saw in winter, and it is certainly a surprise. It's a nice change of form, even though people were skeptical of the changes they made coming into this split. I do believe, though, it is quite a big sort of roster in terms of changes. It certainly made it so that certain players have to step up a bit more than what they were, and it has actually worked out quite well for them. As for BDS, they've struggled. Comparative to how they were in winter, they have struggled. And it's surprising, to say the least, that they're in that sort of form. I think things happening in winter have kind of carried over into spring. I don't think Nuke has had the best of form in this split. I think Adam kind of has sort of quietened down in terms of his performance. But again, BDS are one of them squads that turn up differently during playoffs. And that is a huge sort of thing to note, as they go up against a Heretic squad who may be on the precipice of doing well, going the furthest they ever have in playoffs. But who takes the crown? Who takes a biscuit in this matchup? I've gone 2-1. I think it'll be close. Bear in mind, it's Zyru's first ever playoffs in the LEC. And he's going up against Nuke, who, yes, we said has struggled. But I think the jungle matchup, Jankos Xiao, will atone to that matchup quite a lot. They will affect the mid lane drastically, and I think that will be the telling point of how that series will go. So 2-1 is my prediction to Heretics. I think Jankos' experience outweighs the effectiveness of the BDS squad in terms of relieving lane pressure by one roaming down from top in that dom to mid to relieve Nuke alongside Xiao to make plays and getting BDS ahead. I think that the way Jankos will play, he'll try to isolate Adam, not allow him to roam, and with Wonder's style of kind of soaking the pressure, it'll be very easy for Heretics to keep BDS at bay and make it a 2-1 victory in the best of 3. And finally, G2 MDK, the Winter Split Finals rematch that everyone wanted. This time with a bit more flavor, I think. MDK struggled, barely scraped it into playoffs. They had to leave it to the last game of the split, which is unlike them. They're always near the top of the table, always making it into playoffs easily. Similar sort of story to G2, who always make it to playoffs or finish top of the table. This is the first time in a while that they've not been on the top. And obviously, these two teams have that kind of shaken form. And that is sort of where we're seeing the output. The outcome of this match will decide who makes it through to another upper bracket matchup. These two teams, as a whole, you're kind of thinking, well, if G2 win this split, who goes through to MSI? Well, it's the team with the most championship points. MDK, finishing second overall in winter, have the second most points to split, or coming into the split. So MDK kind of want G2 to either A, win the whole lot, or then beat G2 so bad that they win the entire LEC spring split without G2 in it. And we're already starting to see, to be honest, some similarities to spring last year, where G2 drew like MDK, lost pretty badly, and then lost again in an absolute destruction of their squad. That is sort of how it's been going, and I think we probably will see that again here, as G2 will try to experiment in best of threes. Bear in mind, they don't give a crap about this split. They don't need to win it. They don't need to do anything in this split. They're already going to MSI. They're already qualified for season finals. Who cares? They're just here to experiment, get more best of practice. So I could honestly see them dropping this series to get more games. That's just me. But yeah, my prediction is, however, G2 will win 2-1. It'll be close, but Caps is on another level. Caps versus Friscowie is the interesting thing, because Caps just is obliterating everyone he comes in contact with, and G2 just will be on a better form than what they did to finish the split. So yeah, that's my prediction. That's all 4 games. I thought there were 6 originally. There's only 4. If there's more on Monday, you'll know I'll predict him on Twitter. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think we're going through to next weekend with some interesting results. Anyway, time to end it off. Easter weekend as a whole, so happy Easter if you celebrate it. If not, have a nice holiday and away from work if you are not at work on Monday. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new and if you want to. And I'll see you guys for the SK Vitality series, presumably on Monday. Peace out.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss, that's fact, taking big